Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Meagher, joined by Ryan Anderson and Jackson Muniz to take you through a very big day, probably the biggest day out there at Santa Anita. I guess arguably outside of opening day, it is Santa Anita Derby Day. We have gotten there. It is this Saturday, April 4th, so looking forward to that, of course. Thank you so much for joining the show. We've got, scrolling on the bottom of the screen, our weekly schedule, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, and Thursday nights. But go ahead and hit that notification bell to keep you caught up with all that good stuff, as well as the subscribe button and a like button as well. Of course, if you are familiar with our listening platforms, you can list us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and something called Anchor. Our Power Picks tip sheet, I believe, is, if I'm not mistaken, has reached the $3 ROI mark to start 2026, which we can't stress that enough. Go over and subscribe to those. And now available, including those regular Power Picks tip sheet, is our Keeneland Power Picks tip sheet. Myself, Howard, this dude right down here, and Paul Halloran will be co-contributing on those every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday during the Keeneland meet. So go ahead and go subscribe to those, as well as find out more about us at our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Two more things to go over. Of course, you can get past performances and clock reports for Gulfstream. I believe Gulfstream is wrapped up, so you can't get those, but you can get them for Santa Anita every race day. Go to drf.com for more info. And then the last thing here, going on the bottom of the screen, Weekend Warrior Saturday, 6 p.m. to 7:45 Eastern. You got Keeneland with the Bluegrass, you got Aqueduct with the Wood, and you got Santa Anita, of course, with the Santa Anita Derby. And then one more thing, Keeneland Today is back. Our first episode of that will be on that same Saturday at 11:30 Eastern that morning. I think that is everything that I need to go through. Mr. Anderson, Mr. Muniz, how you guys doing today?
I mean, awesome, right? Big weekend at Santa Anita, obviously, and then Keeneland's back. What else do you need? What else do you need in life? You know, we're a month out from the Derby. Turfway, yeah. You know,
I need Turfway back in my life, man. I'm so sad. What am I going to do tomorrow night at 7 o'clock? I'm not betting Charlestown. Absolutely not.
What you can do tonight is Shaw Tin. So you have that.
Okay.
When's the next Hong Kong card? we can dabble into that.
True.
Just bet Zach. Just bet Zach Purton throughout the card. You'll be fine.
Jackson, how does the excitement level get affected knowing that you aren't going to be able to join us here in the next couple of weeks?
I've been bummed, obviously. Keeneland's always a great time hanging out with y'all and hanging out with everyone that we're friends with there. And, you know, it's very different from what we're used to out here in Southern California. It's a very different vibe. But this year I'm actually going to be able to attend the Santa Anita Derby. So that's cool. I have that going on. And they got a really nice card. They got 12 races, a bunch of stakes. And maybe it's not the huge fields we see at Keeneland, but I thought these races were still really competitive. So I'm excited to talk about them.
Very competitive for sure. We have got 6 races on tap, so obviously we'll be covering the late pick 5. And then we wanted to make sure that we threw in the Santa Anita Oaks in there as well, which goes as race 6 on Saturday. So races 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 we'll be talking about here shortly. And I know we've got a bunch of people already in the chat, and I'll go ahead and get to those in just a minute. But like I said, we've got 6 races to talk about, so we're going to go ahead and dive into those as soon as possible. And like I mentioned, the first race that we'll be talking about, race 6, is the Santa Anita Oaks, presented by Surfsides Grade 2. If you're not familiar with Surfsides, I love Surfsides, but that's not here nor there. 100 points to the winner goes towards the Kentucky Oaks, of course. Field of 7 here, and the most notable horse in this race, obviously the 3-5 heavy morning line favorite, the number 5 Meaning. Juan Hernandez takes them out here for Michael McCarthy. Michael McCarthy's actually got 2 in here. He's also got the number 7 Brooklyn Blonde. Kimura rides that one. And second and third choice goes to the Bob Baffert runners in the number 1 forced entry with Mike Smith aboard, as well as the number 3 French Blue for the Frenchman, Florent Giroux. Let's see who we are going with to kick off the day at Santa Anita. I'm going 3-5-1. Ryan is going 1-7-5. And Jackson is going 3-1-7. Ryan, we will start with you going to the number 1, the inside forced entry, an impressive winner last out, 1 of 2 from the Baffert barn.
Yeah. Look, first, this race, when I looked at it, Meaning at 3-5, I think is maybe a little short on the morning line. I don't know that she'll be that. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. But I thought the race last time from Forced Entry in the Santa Isabel, I know the number 3 French Blue is supposedly your Oaks winner, according to Jackson. So I'm curious to see how, French Blue is going to turn the tables on not 1, but 2 entries in here. But I really like the way Forced Entry finished things off, drew well at the rail again today. And I think Mike Smith is going to give a fine ride. I mean, he's given some good ones the past couple weeks, which I don't say often, but he seems to be feeling himself. He's reunited with Mike Smith, and him and Pegram, they obviously still have a good kind of relationship. So I think Force Entry might be one of those that's just getting good at the right time. She's the one I'm going to take moving forward. I would be shocked if we got 4-1, but if we do, I'm absolutely going to take that, and I would probably have a sizable win bet on her as well at that price.
Yeah, this is her kind of getting away from the field late. I know Bankshaw was making a bit of a late run, and French Blue was fading back a bit just because the early fractions that she set. Ryan, do you imagine that she should get probably a pretty envisionable trip as to last time with the trip that she got from Off the Speed, or where do you imagine her sitting early on?
Yeah, that was an interesting word. I'd imagine Brooklyn Blonde is in this race to kind of make sure that there's some pace for Meaning, who likes to come from a little bit off of it. But you have horses going turf to dirt like Red Cherry and Hypergamy, both of which like to be forward and do their best running. I've not spoken with Doug. I would imagine the plan for Hypergamy is to go to the front. Same for Red Cherry. I would imagine that, has showed speed in the only dirt try when fading in her maiden debut, but regardless, I would still think that this is one you're going to see early. So has the potential to have a little bit of pace in here. I think mainly this race kind of revolved around me just trying to beat Meaning in here. So I went with the horse that's going to be on the front end in Brooklyn Blonde, but then a top pick, Forced Entry, who I think might have the best kind of closing ability late and seems to be just getting better as the races get longer.
Jackson, we are also trying to beat the heavy morning line favorite in Meeting, but we're going in the same direction, but a different direction as Mr. Anderson. We're going with French Blue. Ryan had mentioned that you identified her as a pretty decent or sizable prospect early on in her career. Probably a little disappointed with her effort last time, but I think it's probably a good sign that she shows back up here.
Yeah, I'll admit, I picked Force Entry like at 12 p.m. this morning, and about an hour ago, I texted Noah saying, I got to pick French Blue again. I hyped her up way too much to not give her another shot in here. And she was terrible last time. She had absolutely no excuse. The pace was not fast. She was uncontested. She was all by herself, and she had nothing in the lane. But I don't know. I got to give her one more shot. She's worked way too well going into that race. She's worked way too well coming out of that race. And I got to feel like all the money in this race is going to go to Force Entry between the two Baffords. I think Force Entry 4-1 is not going to happen. She'll probably be more like 5-2. And you'll get around that 5-1 on French Blue, hoping that she runs to her workouts in the mornings, to the expectations that Baffert has for her, because I do know he has high expectations based on the way he's talked about her. But really, you're supposed to try to beat Meaning in this race at 3-5. Even if you're 6-5, I think you're supposed to try to beat Meaning. It feels a lot like that race last week that we talked about where you guys lost yet another side bet, where the favorite was odds on for absolutely no reason and was running the exact same speed figures as everyone else in this race. What advantage does Meaning have over this field? She has none. The only reason she's odds on here is because she ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. That is the only reason. And I guess maybe, she beat Explorer last time. She beat Explorer with a dream trip. I mean, You could not have written up a better setup for Meaning in that spot. So you're supposed to try to beat her in this race at a very short price. There's a bunch of different directions to go to. Take a little shot with French Blue.
Yeah, and I
love it.
I think the biggest thing here is we didn't really blow over the work, but I think it's pretty important to note that the 1 and the 3 work together. And I thought French Blue was very much a lot better than what the 1 in the morning showed that day. I just can't find my words today. I don't know what's going on.
Your English is awesome today, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a Southern thing. I don't know what's going on. Jackson, I want to ask you, do you think with the blinkers off, they maybe try and sit? Because Ryan had pointed out a decent amount of speed and horses that might have one way to go. Do you think they might try that here?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, she rated first time out, kind of. And I will say that French Entry actually outbroke her last time. And it seemed like they took back on purpose to let French Blue have the lead. So I wonder with the different post positions today, whether they do switch tactics in this spot.
Yeah, and I mean, we can't get by this race without talking about Meaning. So I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Jackson. I mean, I think the big thing that people are going to look at is she beat Explorer, but it was a 4-horse race, and 3 of them were lined up for not the majority, but for a good amount of that race. And it's safe to say that she found herself in a pretty favorable position with horses that were moving pretty fast at that point early on in that race. And okay, she beat her by a length and a half, but Explorer was getting a little tired, and she was the one that had to do some heavy lifting. So obviously she can improve, but I think it's just a race that with that setup, you're supposed to try to beat her. And I think we've got some logical alternatives. God, I can't speak today. Logical alternatives.
I was supposed to host tonight. I forgot about that. Should I take over?
Yeah, maybe you should. Last horse that we will touch on, Ryan, Brooklyn Blonde, the other one from the McCarthy barn. You had mentioned maybe she's just one to maybe set things up. I thought her last race was just fine.
Yeah, I definitely thought her last race was fine too. Given her two best efforts have come with Lasix, but maybe she's just getting better as she's getting older. Obviously, the gun runners we've seen always, get better with age and whatnot. So this is her third start of the form cycle, and she seemed to really appreciate the stretch out around 2 turns last time when she broke the maiden in pretty convincing fashion. I think she has the best dirt speed of any of the horses in here. Obviously, Red Cherry and Hypergamy both coming off of turf efforts. So if Brooklyn Blonde and Kazushi Kimura can get a nice trip, whether that's going to the front end or maybe just sitting off one of those that sends to the inside, she'll get a similar trip like the last. And yeah, I mean, she's dangerous in here. She's the other McCarthy. So just like the other Baffert's always dangerous, I think when Michael McCarthy sends too, I think he's equally as dangerous here.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about a good horseman, especially on the West Coast, I think Michael McCarthy certainly fits that bill for sure. But I think the general opinion is we're going to try to beat Meaning at a short price in the Santa Anita Oaks. So we'll go ahead and move on. We're going to skip race 7 and move on to race 8, which is one of the couple. They have 2 Calbred Stakes. One of them that is earlier in the card, and this one right here, which starts the late pick 5. It's race 8, the Evening Jewel Stakes, presented by the TAA. $125,000 per 6.5 furlongs on the main track, and obviously 3-year-old Calbred fillies in here. And the morning line favorite, a pretty heavy morning line favorite, in the number 7 Mohaven for Jaramillo and John Sadler. Second choice, the number 5, another 0 for Juan Hernandez, the dreaded Juan Hernandez, and Antonio Garcia at 3-1. So let's see the direction that we were going with. These two boys are chalking out with the 7. I'm going with the 5. I'm 5-7-1. Ryan and Jackson. Ryan's 7-6-5. Jackson is 7-1-5. Jackson, we will go to you. You're not a guy to really take chalk all that often, but anytime you do, I think she's probably a pretty decent winner in here.
Yeah, I think she's just supposed to be pretty tough to beat in this spot. She drew best of the speeds. That includes another 0. That also includes 2 Sassy, and they probably seem like the 3 main contenders in this race. She drew outside of all 3 of them. She's proven at this distance. She has the fastest numbers on dirt. And it really felt like last time was kind of just an experiment. I think we even talked about it. Like, oh, yeah, they're kind of just here. It's her first start of the year. She makes sense in here. And if she doesn't run well, she can always go back to Calbreds on dirt on Santa Anita Derby Day. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. And she's, it just didn't work out. Now this is a much more realistic spot. Blinker's going back on. I just feel like there's a ton to like about this filly. And if she shows up with her best effort, she's supposed to be really difficult for these horses to beat.
Brian, anything to add?
No, I echo everything he said. Yeah, we did talk about this race. Mohaven and Hamika for Baffert that day. They were both going turf to dirt. It felt like a bit of an experiment. And then Mohaven goes right back to the dirt, gets blinkers on, which we know she likes, but she's run well without him. So I think she should be set up to be pretty tough to beat in here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I know I'm not necessarily picking her in this race. I'm just not sure I really want to bet her at what should probably be 3-5 or 4-5. I was pretty impressed with the way that another 0 was able to get it done last time. I know she set a pretty easy pace, and she beat a field that she was probably supposed to be. I mean, she was 3-5, so she was definitely supposed to get it done in there. But just the way she did it, I mean, she won by 4.5. She could have easily won by probably 7 or 8 lengths in that race. And just the fact that they decide to throw her in this race here off of a pretty short rest. It's only been a couple weeks. I mean, they ran on March 8th, which would be 3.5 weeks, probably almost a month here. I just think it's a good stepping stone and a good vote of confidence, especially off of that race that I thought was pretty impressive for another 0. So she's the one that I would go, maybe just a bit more value, but I totally respect Mohaven and totally respect the opinions that you guys give here. Jackson, to the inside, C. Drew, I believe, is one that is coming out of that same race that we saw some familiar runners in the last race we talked about, the Santa Isabel. Certainly dropping in class and cutting back in distance. The weird thing is I don't think she really loves to be on the inside, and she kind of proved that last time. But it's also the case where she might be so far behind this field that it might not matter.
Right. And she's going to look, she doesn't have any speed going 2 turns. She's definitely not going to have any speed going 1 turn against this kind of field. She's going to drop out the back. She's going to be 10, 15 lengths out of it. And she's going to hope that the 3 logicals near the 5, 6, and 7 all hook up and go way too fast. And this thing just falls apart. That's the way she's going to win this race. She seems like the best of the closers in here. She's probably better suited underneath. But anytime Noah doesn't have Ayuso on top, it's probably a good sign that you want to bet this horse to win. So at 8-1, she's not the worst price I've ever seen.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I'm not sure I have Ayuso on top in any of these races. So he's
surprise.
He's bound to have a pretty big day on Saturday. So I just bet him blindly and don't follow anything that I have to say. Ryan, you are going with the 6 in second. That is Too Sassy. There's another one that looks like she's going to be part of the pace in here.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled that Noah hasn't picked Ayuso on top in any races. So, Jackson, when you and I are out there this Saturday for Santa Anita Derby Day, we can just stand by the rail, see Ayuso, and give an old Ayuso.
Ooh, easy money.
Easy money. But, yeah,
like
Too
that?
Sassy, I think – there you go. Too Sassy is one I like a little bit underneath. I think she can win, too, on her best day. Obviously, you'd have to get back to that generous portion stakes where she beat Mohaven and some others, but as Noah steps away, that profile picture is awesome. Has a couple efforts where, she sat just off the pace, and I think if Mohaven goes, and Misael Jaramillo, I think, kind of tips the hand along with the blinkers that we should see her out in front. If she goes to the front with another 0, and that leaves Too Sassy just off the pace, I know that's where Tyler Bays likes to be in those races, is just, like anybody would, that kind of proverbial kind of pocket trip behind a couple of dueling pace setters. I think Too Sassy maybe has a little bit of muddied up form. So that's one I wanted to give a slight look to. You can see there, that's kind of where I would like to see her, because I do think if they soften each other up a little bit, I think the 6 can kind of get the first jump on those late runners. And I don't know that I trust any of the, 2, 4, 3, and 8 to get the job done. The 1 would scare me. I just don't know if she's going to have enough time at 6.5. I think 7 furlongs would be right in her wheelhouse, but 6.5, I do fear her a little bit.
Yeah, Jackson, I want to throw it to you for kind of the final word, not necessarily really an opinion on anyone in this race, but how did you see this race kind of playing out? Because I know they've got the 5 on the lead. I'm not exactly sure I agree with that. I would think the 6 might be a little bit quicker from the outside. Clearly, the 7 would probably just kind of sit off of those 2 if they do duel, but I thought if anyone was going to secure the lead, I thought it'd be the 6.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the 6 is the speed if they want to do so. But the blinkers going back on to Mohaven because she hasn't proven she can really pass horses from off the pace. She can win, a length off of it maybe, but she's going to be on the lead here, whether it's in front or stalking on the outside. I think those 2 are going to be leading the charge into the turn.
I would.
Have you talked about another 0, Noah? Did I miss that?
I talked about her. You missed that?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I did.
He said,
I'm known to do that.
So
yeah, I said. I said.
What did you say, Jackson?
Avoid 1 or Ninden.
Said JJ's right. You gotta bet him.
That's right.
Race 9 is the next race that we're going to be talking about. I think this is night and day, the most difficult race on the card. It is a field of 12. It's Calbred allowance optional claiming for $20,000. That company, Mile on the Turf, $70,000 purse, and you can see this big field of 12. The morning line favorite is all the way to the outside. The number 12, Call Me Sir, for Kimura and Mark Glatt at 7-2. Second choice, the number 8, King of Dragons, for the Devil, and Peter Urton at 4-1. Let's see who we are going with in this race. And like I said, we are all over the place. I am 1-5-12. Ryan is 10-1-8, and Jackson is 8-11-9. Ryan, we're going to go back to you to talk about a runner at 12-1 on the line. That is Prince Dolce. I believe I said that right. One of 2 runners for Nap. Ricky Gonzalez rides this one. A little unlucky to not win last time, but off of a big effort, you're going to get a very similar place to last time.
Yeah, good to see that you found your English in the first half of that sentence, and then you probably kind of lost it. But last time out, I do think she should have won, or he should have won, excuse me. I thought Prince Dolce maybe was the victim of a bit of a indecisive move from Ricky Gonzalez, kind of couldn't decide whether to stay inside, go outside, and opted to go between runners, which made the move a little bit too late, galloped out, obviously huge, finished the race really strong, and did get flying once he got some space. I think if he can get a little bit of a cleaner trip, I think the pace sets up in a very similar way it will last time. And Blinker's going on. I think they're trying to get this horse maybe a little bit closer because he is left with a fair bit of work to do when they turn for home. So hopefully they can just cut a couple of those lengths off because he does have a really nice turn of foot. And I think Ricky is an underrated turf rider. He's capable of some very nice rides. You saw him give Prince Dolce a good ride last time from the sixth draw. Has to do it from post 10, but again, this is one that's going to be coming from off the pace. So we're watching the stretch drive here. Is kind of tucked to the inside in the I believe it's a yellow hat there, and splits runner, yellow, green, whatever. That's and it's closing quickly, closed well. Again, just a little bit too late, and was kind of left without a place to go. So I really like Prince Dolce here. I'm hoping 12-1 sticks. I should get, I would think, above 8-1 because I do think a lot of money is going to go to Call Me Sir and some others. So I like the 10 a lot here. I think this is the race to find a price.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Jackson, you went with another runner that is coming out of that same race on March 7th. He was the 9 runner in there. He is going to be the 8 runner on Saturday. That is the number 8 King of Dragons.
Yeah, it wasn't the best ride we've ever seen from Hector Barrios, but I also don't know if he really had a choice. I mean, he was going to be hung wide regardless, so I think he felt like he had to move a little early because he made this really early move as they entered the far turn. He went from, towards the back half of the field to third, kind of within a furlong. He moved too soon. He moved way wide, and they took the starch out of his late punch in the final furlong, and he kind of faded a little bit and late. So I think if they get a better time to move, man, no, you're rubbing off on us. If they can time his move better on Saturday, I think he's arguably the horse to beat, given the way this race projects to set up pace-wise. I think there's a lot of speed in here. He's going to be the best of the closers. And even the race 2-back, that's the horse you guys remember Chris posted on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
A really, really, really interesting ride by DeMuro. He was not given his best chance to win. So it just feels like his form is a little dirtied up. You can make excuses for his last 2 races. And if he's able to get the setup that he needs on Saturday, he can be really difficult to hold off in the final stages, especially with the leading rider, JJ Hernandez, hopping on board for the first time.
No doubt about that. James, appreciate it. He says, let's help the lads and smash that like button with a clover emoji. Hopefully that clover emoji is good luck for us. Anyway,
I'm so excited to see this race go off and to see King of Dragons run a really good race just to finish like third and see a goddamn it Hernandez in the group chat. Or goddamn it JJ.
That last race was so bizarre because at one point I thought the 9 was going to win, and then I thought King of Dragons was going to win, and then I thought Warm Sun and Brew was going to win, and then I thought Ryan's horse was going to win, and turns out that neither of those won, which I think that might equate to a race that I don't necessarily want going forward. But any of those 3 horses can certainly win, and it's a very difficult nature with this race. But I ended up going in a different direction. I went to a horse that just a type of style that I don't typically find myself betting, a horse that runs a really big fig at a big price off of a huge layoff. But I thought it was sneaky good in the way that I think there's no doubt we would say that anytime you go 22-3 or 22-4 down the hill is probably pretty crawling. And it's obviously identified with the time form pace projector being cold for that fraction. But then it looks like they really sped it up, which to me makes it seem like that effort was a little bit better than maybe it looks on paper. Because I think just at face value, you look at the opening quarter and be like, oh, he just walked the dog. But I thought it was a little more impressive than that. He got an 80 buyer. He also got a 107 time form for that race. So obviously the time form lines up with that. I put my trust in time form, and I think he's probably going to get a pretty good trip, especially going the mile. He's just going to be able to sit the pocket. He actually didn't sit the pocket, but just sat right off the pace in his maiden win, which was many moons ago. I was probably still in middle school when that happened. But you can see that the 1 runner in here is probably going to get a very similar trip to what time form suggests, where he's just off the speed, should be able to maybe get the jump on some of those other closers like the 8, the 10, and whatnot, some other closers in here. So I'm going to go back to a horse, like I said, that doesn't typically have the style or the form that I would align my handicapping morals with, but I would like to bet him again at 6-1. Ryan, you've got him in second. Anything to add with this runner?
No, I agree with a lot of what you said there. I like that this horse has clearly been tough to keep at the races. Has been very, very start and stop, but got this race in him last time. He's a 6-year-old gelding. He came out and he got the job done. He posted a career best speed figure, and he did it on the front end. It was a great ride by Misael that day. Went right back to the work tab and has had 5 works since the last race. That's something you like to see. They've all been very consistent. So I think this horse is maybe trending in the right direction, and going down the hill to the mile and vice versa on the grass can't be understated. It's a great move, and those horses typically translate either way very, very well. So I'll definitely be using the 1 on all my tickets here. Drew perfect as well, and has shown the ability to pass horses.
Oh, no doubt. And I feel like that in these races where you've got big fields and you can go back and forth with form lines and running lines, I think obviously trip in these turf races is numero uno. And I mentioned that because the morning line favorite, and I guess you can make the case is probably the horse to beat, is Call Me Sir, who draws all the way in post 12, which obviously makes his chances a bit more detrimental than a post draw in either middle of the pack or inside. I respect him. I've got him third, but we'll talk about some others. Jackson, we'll throw it back to you. The horse that you've got in second is Sabretooth, who we saw out here on the West Coast for a while, shipped over to Fairgrounds to finally get his picture taken. And another one that had some, similar form lines to the number 1 where we haven't seen him for a while.
Yeah, I remember this horse. There was always expectations for this. I guess he's a Calbred. It says Maryland bred, but he's in this race, so he must be a Calbred. I don't know.
It's a Cal Sire. It's a Cal Sire.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, they paid a lot of money for him, and they threw him into some graded stakes. They threw him into a lot of stakes races as a young horse. So expectations were here. Finally got the job done at Fairgrounds. It hasn't been seen since, as you alluded to. But if he's taken any kind of step forward from an early 3-year-old to a 4-year-old, he could be dangerous in this kind of race. And as Noah kind of said earlier too, this race kind of seems like it might be looking for a fresher face. He's training well. Yeah, I've seen he's strangely really good off long layoffs going 2 turns. He's like 25% and 50% of the money with a high ROI. Like, this is a move he's really good at. Does have to overcome the post. It's not an easy post to overcome, but he seems like he's a horse that has talent and could make some noise in a race like this.
Yeah, he would be one that would be coming from off of it, I would assume, similar to both the 8 and the 10, your respective top picks. I'll give you the final word. Actually, I'll have you talk about the 9, who is one of the speed types. Then I'll talk about the 5, and then we can move on, Jackson.
Yeah, I just thought he might be the speed of the speed in this race. And here's another one that's coming out of a different caliber of race, arguably against tougher horses, arguably. I just think he's going to be the most likely horse that's going to lead this field into the first turn. If he gets loose, he could get Brave. And again, it's the best angle in racing. Ayuso with no Noah on board. So give me a 9 on the lead.
Ayuso, I think you meant Ayuso aboard with no Noah, because I don't see me getting on any mounts anytime soon. Or did you actually mean what you said?
Like, you're not on board the Ayuso train for whatever reason.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Last horse.
I knew what you meant, Jack.
Last horse I'll touch on is the number 5, Colin J, where it's similar to the kind of hopes with Jackson's runner, the 11, where if he takes a step forward, I know his last race was technically when he was 4 years old, but I would designate this time that he's at off from beginning of January to what will be beginning of April, time to improve from 3 to 4. So he's one where I think if he takes a step forward from 3 to 4, he's obviously got some proven form at the Calbred level, a very similar level to what he'll be running at today. Granted, obviously he's going to be facing some maybe more established and older horses for sure, but he's got proven form here at Santa Anita. Should get a very similar trip to the one that I like. So I think he's got a big shot at 12-1, but we'll go ahead and move on to race 10. Of course, race 10, they've got 12 on Saturday, which I can't remember the last time I saw them have 12 races on a card, let alone a Saturday card. But race 10, believe it or not, begins the late pick 3. It does.
Nailed it.
Begins the late pick 3, and this is the big one, folks. It is the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby, 4:46 local time. That would be 7:46 on the East Coast. I believe that is also correct. Similar to the Oaks, 100 Derby points to the winner. Field of 7. I'll actually just go down the line for our Audio listeners, the number 1 Cherokee Nation for Giroux and Baffert at 5-2. Morning line favorite, the 2 Potente for Juan Hernandez and Bob Baffert at 2-1. Followed by 2 runners from the Doug O'Neill barn, the number 3 Vitruvian Man for Fresu at 15-1. The number 4 Robusta for Jaramillo at 8-1. The number 5 So Happy, Mike Smith and Mark Glatt at 7-2. The 6, the Cowbred Start the Ride for Ayuso and Dan Blacker at 30-1. And the number 7 to round out the field, Intrepido, the Ridgeling for Barrios and Mullins at 7-2. Our picks are up on the screen now. I'm going 1-7-4. Ryan and Jackson are copying each other once again in the biggest race on the West Coast. Ryan's going 4-7-2, and Jackson is also going 4-7-2. Jackson, I believe it is your turn to go with the very likable Robusta, who ran a huge race at a very likable number on the odds board last time in the San Felipe.
What was the number?
You want to show it?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be quite 67-1 again on Saturday, unfortunately. But
he could be 6 or 7, you don't know.
He could. Yeah, he could. I think it's more likely than 8-1 because I don't understand how you can watch the replay of that race and decide that you want to bet Potente at 2-1 over Busta at 8-1. And sure, maybe Potente did run better. I think you can argue Robusta ran just as well. But that price discrepancy is just kind of ridiculous to me. Yeah. They both got good trips. I think Robusta was wide both turns. He made the first move in the pace while wide and just got gunned down late right at the wire by Potente, who I thought had an easier trip. He was covered up. He made the final move and the pace that kind of came apart in the final stages. I think they made, like I said, I think they ran very comparably, and one of them is going to be favored, and the other is going to be the 4th or 5th choice in this race. It's kind of a no-brainer who you're supposed to take in Robusta. And I will say, if he finally switches leads and stretch, which he hasn't done in the last 3 races, he's supposed to move forward quite a bit. And he did train better this week. He trained in the morning. He switched leads after like a second or third time they asked him to. He did finally do it. It's obviously a little different doing in the mornings versus the afternoon. But if he can switch leads in the stretch, he's supposed to move forward, and he can be very, very dangerous in the race like this.
Ryan, can we confirm from the Doug O'Neill camp that we should expect to move forward?
If he switches leads, he moves forward. I mean, he moved forward last time. If he could switch leads, he wins the San Felipe, and he's a mid, maybe low 90 buyer horse right now, like somewhere in that neighborhood. If he switches leads, he has another gear to him, and you can see it when you watch those morning works. He definitely levels off really nicely. So obviously, the hopes are high. He needs a second or third to get in the gate. Obviously, the win is the goal. But I'm rooting for him to just run well and get there. But I do think he has a strong win chance. For all the points Jackson mentions, he's going to be a much better price than Potente, who I would argue had a much easier trip. I think Robusta doing not all the dirty work, but was 3 wide, both turns, and again just could not switch leads for the life of him. So I gotta hope that second time blinkers, maybe Amisael is starting to kind of figure things out, and he gets this horse to switch leads, because I do think if he's able to do so, he has another gear in the tank, and we can see another move forward. When we covered the San Felipe, we forgot to mention that he had paired up those buyers previously of the 78s and then took that step forward. That's a bad move by us, because he took quite the step forward. I do think that there's still room for some improvement in there. So again, I'm just hoping he switches leads, because I'd love to see, the caliber of racehorse that he's shown when he has it all together.
And isn't there a real chance that he makes a front in this race? Because Potente is kind of showing he can sit a little bit. Cherokee Nation's the same way. I don't think that the Glatt horse, So Happy, is going to go to the front. Like, I feel like he's going to sit this time, because he clearly did not work last time going to lead. I just think it's a real possibility that he finds himself in front, which is kind of where you want to be on the dirt.
Well, that's quite the revelation.
Isn't it last time? Didn't So Happy just not get the distance last time? Like, that's
kind of what I thought. I mean,
that's what I saw watching the replay. It looked like that horse just didn't. It looked like this horse is a 1-turn miler, 1-turn 7. Like, again, my hindsight's not even 20/20. But I mean, it's a talented horse, and he just kind of threw in the towel late in that race. So I think even if he does go to the front, maybe he is better with a target, as we saw from his one-turn races. But I'm fading him hard in here. Same with Cherokee Nation.
Well, I agree with the first part, not the second part, and I'll get into that shortly. But yeah, I mean,
that was me teeing you up.
It just felt like if he couldn't get the distance last time, then how is he going to get the distance in a race that's further than last time? And maybe you're right. Maybe it's something where he just kind of needs a target. And last time, Tripwise didn't work out for him. But I'm with you. I'm not going to be betting him in here. Who I will be betting, hopefully, if he's not too short of a price, would be Cherokee Nation. And before I talk about him, there's actually a poll question that is available, and I'm not exactly sure what the poll is, but if you guys could go over, if you're watching and could answer that, we would greatly appreciate it.
Where is it?
I think you have to actually go like to YouTube on your phone.
Yeah, on the YouTube side.
Yeah.
So we're on the show, Jackson, so we can't go. We can't. Oh,
I want to participate.
Yeah, go ahead. You can tell me what the question is because I don't even know what it is.
Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, Cherokee Nation, I actually agree with Howard. I think he is going to the front. If you look at outside of the Santa Anita race, if you look at his other races, they really made zero attempt to get the lead. But something about his race last time, I mean, he just broke like an absolute rocket. And they didn't even really try to get the lead. He just was so fast early that that's where he found himself. Now, if this is a horse that's kind of turning the page and he shows that speed again, I think he's going to put himself in a really favorable spot. If not, I think he's still probably capable to come from off of it. But if I had preference and I'm the connections, then I'm telling Ferrant Giroux, especially with the inside post, to just go, because I think outside of Robusta, who obviously has some speed, maybe not complete dead send from the mid pack here. So happy they might revert to tactics. If the early pace is really that hazy, then you got an inside post and you have speed. Then, as Jackson says, why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah, I think there's a bold L in Cherokee Nation's running lines that's going to be a problem on Saturday. That's one of two reasons I couldn't pick him. The second one is a new jockey to the colony, Misael Jaramillo, could have kept this mount, and he opted to leave Bob Baffert, which is not something you typically do. I don't know how much you want to, like, anybody wants to look into the jockey musical chairs. We say that a lot. And obviously Doug O'Neill's his guy. That's why he's out here. So that probably had some sway to it. And the fact that if Robusta gets in, Jaramillo is going to be the mount on him in that race. But still, if he really thought Cherokee Nation could have, took a massive step forward and could run at 105 here and do something crazy, I think he would have kept them out there. So something to think about, I guess. But it's mainly the Lasix question for me that I don't want to take too short of a price on, and I don't trust Florent.
Is that a question for you, Jackson? Because I feel like that's not a super valid argument, considering one of those races was a 77 and the other one was 100. So I don't like, if it was 100 and a 98, then of course I would completely agree with that. But the other race with Lasix was basically the exact same as his other races at the time.
To me, you're supposed to upgrade his race 3 back quite a bit because of how slow the pace was. That number was never going to come back fast just because they crawled all the way around there. And then they sprinted home. Like, I think every horse in that race had a final quarter under 24, which is ridiculous on the dirt. That just never, ever happened. So that was never going to be a fast number. And I think he ran so well in there, closing into that pace, that you were supposed to upgrade it quite a bit, which is why I liked him in the Bob Lewis. And he was terrible. I mean, he got an okay trip. He was awful in that spot. And then he came back with Lasix again and ran out the screen. And I've also seen some debate about what that number should actually be. I think it's a number that was an outlier on the day, and they, it could have been much higher, could have been much lower. Take it for what it is. I don't think it matters. I just think it's worth bringing up. I mean, even if you think it's 5 points too high, like he still ran a 95, which is still faster than everyone else. So that point doesn't really matter. But the Lasix thing, when you're talking about a horse, it's a short price. It's run 6 times, and I think his 4 worst races all came without Lasix. I think it's a valid concern.
I guess I could see the point there. The one you make a point about the outlier, I think you're spot on, because, I mean, if it's 5 or 6 or even 8 points lower, I think the best buyer outside of that is an 89. I think quite a few horses actually ran an 89. Actually, So Happy ran 96, but that was too bad. But just races that they are coming out of last time, 89 is the highest outside of his 100. So think it's something to think about. We'll see what happens on Saturday. I think the mutual kind of opinion here with a horse that we all respect, and I respect him quite a bit in here. I've never really known how good Intrepido is, but I'm just not super high on the San Felipe itself. I feel like I have to default to kind of picking him in second. And there's no mistake. I don't know if either of you guys have an opinion on this. I mean, I thought he ran quite well in the Bob Lewis, and it's very similar to the case that you guys made for Nearly when you guys did your show. Didn't quite work out, but I think the point was still there, where that race was February 7th versus the other races, and the numbers that were very similar to what those horses earned on that day were 3 or 4 weeks later, which obviously would equate to him having more chance to improve going forward.
I love Intrepido. This has been a horse that's always kind of, had my attention since he came onto the scene. I need to see that second step forward. Obviously, off the Robert B. Lewis, this was always the goal. It was very clear from Mullins. He came out right after the race and said, yeah, we're going to train up to the Santa Anita Derby. He has a fair bit of points. I don't know the exact total, but second in the Robert B. Lewis has him, 10, I think. And then whatever. So I do think if he takes a step forward, this is kind of the time. 7-2, I think, is a relatively fair price, and he might be the forgotten horse in here, just with the 2 Bafferts that are going to take money. Robusta off the career best effort last time out, who obviously I think still has some more upside. Intrepido's kind of always been that quiet horse who could take that step forward here, and so he'll be on my tickets. I'll be mainly 4-7, but Potente definitely scares me, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit.
Tex, do you have any opinion here with this runner?
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of a tough read for me because he ran. I do think he ran well in the Bob Lewis. The juvenile, I feel like you're supposed to just toss it because it clearly wasn't his better effort. Like, he just didn't run. I don't know though. Is he? I just feel like he's not that exciting. Like, he's probably the second most likely winner, maybe third most likely winner. I just don't know how much improvement he has in him, and I'd much rather bet Robusta at a much higher price, so I project to get a better trip. And I think he's has more of a right to improve than Intrepido does.
I would agree with that. Before we move on, I've got a comment that I do want to bring up, but before we do that, I want to just get your guys' general opinion on Potente. Is he a nice horse moving forward, or is he a nice horse moving forward? Is he a horse that you don't really like moving forward, or is he just simply a bet against regardless of what you think of him going forward?
I don't necessarily think he's a bet against. I think he's a horse where if he takes a step forward, he's probably going to win. I mean, that's not an easy ask to go from a maiden race into sprinting into a 2-turn graded stake race with some of the top 3-year-olds and get the job done and, really kind of put his nose down to get to the wire first in front of Robusta, who we've talked about is a little bit goofy and doesn't want to switch leads. Of course, it's in the Bob Baffert barn, so this is not something we're typically it's not something that we're new to seeing. I guess it's something that he does with his best horses. I just think you're supposed to try and beat him here. It would not surprise me if he wins. He seems like a very talented horse. He's obviously bred for the Derby distance, as all of his horses are classic distance horses, and the price tag is absurd at $2.5 million. So he's one that can absolutely win in here, but I do think there are some very logical alternatives, especially from a value perspective, in Robusta, Intrepido, and even Cherokee Nation. If that's the horse that you like, he's going to be a decent enough price. I think he will be around 5-2. I think Potente goes off maybe a little bit shorter.
Well, here's the comment I want to throw up. Howard thinks that Lasix is not an issue with Cherokee Nation. Lightbulb went on last time, especially out of the gate. That I certainly agree with. He looked like he was a different animal, especially within the first furlong of that race that I watched, where he was able to break his maiden. Reminds me of Pavlovian, like Cherokee Nation Saturday, not in the Derby, though. Ryan, I know you're a big fan of Pavlovian, so do you have a comment there?
I think Pavlovian, it was less the light bulb going on, and just Edwin Maldonado got him into the race early, and that's where he's done his best running. When you look through his form, when he was involved early, that was where he really didn't want to lose. He didn't want to get past. You saw that again when he went out and basically took the top horse in the Chad Brown barn down to the wire in the Louisiana Derby, and I mean, he was unlucky to lose that race, but he did all of the dirty work in that race. He was pressured the entire way around and then fought back when he saw that horse coming and went and got him and tried his best to get the job done. Emerging Market just eventually kind of wore him down, but it took that entire length of the stretch. So I disagree that was a similar kind of light bulb angle. I don't even know if the light bulb went on for Cherokee Nation last time. I think he's always been an okay horse. I think last time he was not a victim. He was a beneficiary of a relatively slow pace in front of Winston Avenue, who I'm not going to talk about that horse because that horse gives me and Jackson nightmares. But I just don't think he beat a strong group last time. And I know the speed figure came back strong, but that main track at Santa Anita was playing pretty quick that day. And obviously he was just a couple ticks off the track record. So he ran exceptionally fast that day in 1:34.5, or 1:34.2. But I don't know that the light bulb angle went on. I'm still in the camp that the Lasix made a big difference last time, and he sat a really nice trip. So, yeah, I'm gonna pass on him. But hey, if he wins, then he wins.
No, I definitely get it. And I think the point is certainly there. I got to say I do appreciate the comments that are coming in. Mostly they're silly ones from Jim and Matt, but Jim puts the fact that he likes the potential of Patente here, ran well off Lasix, closed, and per the time form, early pace will be close, have first run on leaders. I don't disagree with that, Jim. I think the stance here is, we just don't want to bet him at a short price and probably have to prove it again as the favorite in here when we think some other 3-year-olds obviously have some big chances. And then Jose Ramirez, I'm not sure, are the Guardians supposed to be playing right now? Jose, I think you're supposed to get back on the field. But anyways, he said unlucky that a couple of 3-year-olds out of here, like Plutarch was scratched. I think Plutarch got hurt right after his victory, if I'm not mistaken. And then Crude Velocity. Jackson, I was kind of sad that we didn't get to see Crude Velocity. We do actually get to see him on Saturday in like race 2 or whatever. But I was a little disappointed that we didn't see him in this race.
I'm still hoping he goes in the Lexington next week because he is Bafford's best 3-year-old. I have very, very little doubt about that. We'll see. I thought it was interesting he was going to run against older horses on Saturday this early in the year. So we'll see what happens.
You guys want to go ahead and move on? You got anything else you want to talk about?
I need to see the results of the poll. What happened?
I don't know. I was not informed by what the question was.
It was said, who would there be a top 5 Derby finisher out of this race?
What do you guys think? Yes?
If Robusta switches leads, yes.
Okay, yeah.
I would say I'm going to lean yeah. Just because I think we were kind of gifted with some pretty good 3-year-olds the last couple of years, and it's been pretty proven that this group is not all that good, which in theory would lead to more likely that we see some kind of crazy results on Derby Day, regardless of your horses.
Yeah, and look, I think Howard said this is the worst West Coast crop I've seen in a long time. Let's be honest. I don't know if I'd agree with that. If we're comparing it to last year, journalism and Baeza, yeah, of course. But
yeah,
I mean, who in this crop are you afraid of? I mean, there's a horse in here that's run 100 Meagher. There's a horse in here that's run a 96. And there's a lot of horses in here that have rights to improve. I don't think we can say that definitively until after Saturday. If this race comes back super slow, then sure. But I mean, at this point, these horses have run faster than the horse that was going to be the favorite in the Derby that just scratched. So we'll see.
Appreciate that, Jose. He got his Yoshi bobblehead, and he got the hell out of there. Appreciate that, Jose, for joining us tonight. And everybody else that's joining us, we greatly appreciate it for sure. And about that comment, Howard put respectfully, but I'm not sure there was really any respect with that comment. So we'll go ahead and move on to the last 2 races. Hopefully we deep dove enough for you guys. With
your English was getting so good for a run there.
It's really sloppy. Right now. We're
going to try to graduate.
I don't know. I'll have to double check on that. 2 races to go. Race 11, the Monrovia Stakes, presented by a fantastic tequila in Don Julio. Grade $300,000 purse, 6.5 furlongs down the hill. Always love these down the hill races. And the heavy favorite here, the morning line favorite at 4-5, the number 1, the likable Queen Maxima for Juan Hernandez and Jeff Mullins. Second choice, the number 3, the East Coast Invader. Love Appeals for Jaramillo and Mr. Miguel Clement at 3-1. Let's see what we're going with in this race in Monrovia on Saturday. I'm going 1-5-2. Ryan's going 2-1-6. And these guys are just, I mean, they have to talk before the show. Ryan's 2-1-6. Jackson is 215. I think it's Ryan's turn. He's complaining, but he's the one that gets to make the compelling argument first as to why Tirapati at 6-1 with Ricky Gonzalez and Jonathan Thomas is going to win the Monrovia, Ryan.
I'm not complaining. We just spend too much time together. Look, watching the Works back for Tirapati. Works with a horse that's going to be running in the last in a maiden special weight. And I thought they worked fairly, but I thought both of them worked very, very strongly. Tirapati for the comeback effort here. I think this is a very ambitious spot. Obviously, it's a horse that's cleared all of her conditions, rather. So I think coming back, going down the hill, I love that as a comeback spot for these horses just because for these natural milers, I think the 6.5, we talked about this a little earlier on in the show. I think, it translates both ways very easily, but I think there's also an aspect of when you come back off a layoff and you're going down the hill, it just brings you into the race a little bit more. You have to work a little bit less because you have gravity on your side. And obviously that goes for all the horses in the field. But I do think Queen Maxima is maybe in here as a stepping stone again to get to Churchill, as we saw Jeff Mullins do something similar to this last year when then they went out to I forget the name of that race on Derby Day, but did a very similar, kind of step. And this feels like a prep. She faced absolutely nothing in this race last year and just walked the dog on the front end. I do think there's some more talented horses. She walked the dog in that January 11th race as well. And she is very talented. I'm not trying to take that away from her, but I do think she is beatable in a spot like this because I know this isn't the be all end all for Queen Maxima here. So I think I'm going to try and go to Tirapati, who I think naturally has a little bit more, maybe natural kind of stamina in those mile races and is going to be close to the pace. And I think just has a better turn of foot and a better kick late. So that's one I want to take to upset the heavy favorite here.
Jackson, if someone were to propose the argument that this is a starting point or a stepping stone to something else for Tirapati, what would your rebuttal be?
They could be right for all we know. There's not that many options to run out here in Southern California. You're just hoping that at the price she's going to be compared to Queen Maxima, I think she's willing. You should be willing to take the chance that this isn't the prep, that this is the target, that she's fully cranked up to win the stakes race. As we talk about all the time too now, like the layoffs just don't matter nearly as much as they used to. Like these trainers win at 28% because they're fully ready to go off the bench. I mean, that's just how it is nowadays. And as far as Tirapati goes, like she got a shot. I mean, she's very classy. She's very quick. She's also a horse that has a really nice late kick. I think anytime Timeform has a horse that's going to be up on the lead and also has them as having the strongest late kick in the race, that's an angle I've always liked quite a bit. Yeah. I don't know if she's good enough to beat Queen Maxima, who's very, very good. But at 6-1, I think she's worth taking a little flyer on.
You're getting.
When was the last time y'all? I know. Well, I do touch my glasses a wild amount. When you were on the Timeform, when was the last time you guys saw a horse that's going to be basically on the front end with the late pace flag? Because I'm looking at that for the first. I can't remember seeing that in recent memory, and that's kind of what I just said. I didn't think that that would be the case necessarily, but I do agree that she's the best closer in there, and she should be close.
And this race has a really weird pace scenario. Like no one really wants the front, and that includes Queen Maxima. That includes the Doug O'Neill horse who ran
Princess Moche.
Yeah, I can't remember how you pronounce it, but it's just kind of a weird pace scenario. Like it won't be surprising if Love Appeals decides she's going to go. Like I think this could turn into one of those races where they kind of crawl, and then she's a 2 furlong sprint. She might have the best 2 furlong kick in the race.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think the last time or the last couple of times I've seen that where one of the front runners, if not the front runner, according to Timeform, had the highest late pace. I think those horses probably went off at 1-5 and 1-9, and you're going to get at least 5-1 on this runner. So, if you take that angle to heart, I think that is certainly a no-brainer. And I think there's not necessarily holes to poke in Queen Maxima, but there's enough of an argument to be made where she's not worthy of 4-5 in the aspect that she's that much faster than some of these other runners, especially the 2. And you can maybe make the case of the 5s. I think the 5's probably going to step forward and was in a race with 0 speed again last time. But she's just super consistent. She always comes with her best. I guess if you ask the connections, they'd probably say that they prefer to probably have a target, even though she won this race on the lead last year. And I think Ryan's honestly pretty spot on. I think that field last year compared to this year. Not necessarily a joke, but I think this field is much better than what she did and was able to beat last year. But obviously that springboarded her into a pretty decisive victory in the Unbridled Sydney, which is the name of that race on Derby Day, Oaks Day. Is that Derby or Oaks Day? Derby Day? I was right.
Oaks Day.
He's just moving his head in a circle. He's nodding and shaking his head at the same time.
But
Oaks Day.
With all that being said, I mean, she's very good and definitely the horse to beat. And if somebody put a gun to my head right now and told me I'd pick a winner, then that is the direction that I would.
Yeah. But we're betting the race. It's a difference.
That's fair. I can't make enough of a compelling argument for the horse that you guys like, or even the 5 to make me go the other way. It doesn't mean that I'm going to bet truckloads of money on this race, but anyway, that nobody gives a crap. The 5 I thought was a little interesting just because, like I mentioned, was in the Wishing Well, where Gratefully and Saratoga Special, who I think are some pretty decent fillies, especially out here on the West Coast. I was a little disappointed to see that Saratoga Special wasn't in this race. I think according to Matt Cuter of Adelphi Racing, we're supposed to see Gratefully the second Sunday, not Easter Sunday, obviously because they don't run at Keeneland, but the second Sunday at Keeneland in the – oh, boy. You guys remember the name of that stakes race? I'm sure Howard does, and he can put it in the chat for us, but I hate when people give me answers. I can't think of the name. But anyway, I thought Amarita ran just fine. I mean, that was first off the bench since July, second off the bench, second race for her 4-year-old career. Will be a much better and most likely one of her best, if not her best, career buyer and lifetime. And Howard said it is the Giants Causeway. So thank you, Howard. Appreciate that. But I thought she was one. If Queen Maxima was not a shoe-in, but a very likely winner, the 5 was maybe one that you could get cute and maybe play in second, play straight exacta. And if I'm probably betting the race, that is the bet that I will be making. Jackson, do you have any comment here? Or Ryan, do you have any comment with the 6, or should we go ahead and move on to the last?
Only comment on the 6 is there is a noticeable jockey change after that last race.
Are you going to like Murko?
No, I just don't. Nothing went wrong with her in that race. I don't think that there was necessarily a reason to, pull things up in there. I think that she was in there with a shot, and she came out of the race and she scoped great. And obviously, she's right back in this spot, and she didn't really miss any work or any time on. Yeah, so she's back. Racing's on. It should be a fun race.
That's another side bet horse. This is fun. There's so many of them now. Like, it's every time we do a show. Oh, yeah, that was a side bet horse. That was a side bet horse.
Who did you even pick in there? I can't remember.
Vibez.
Oh, yeah. Jackson, is the 5 a win contender or not?
No, she's more underneath, right? I mean, so many horses would have to not show up for her to win, or she'd have to take a huge step forward. So at that price, I don't think she's worth a win bet, no.
I agree. We'll go ahead and move on to race 12, which race 12 obviously concludes the day out there on the West Coast at Santa Anita. And race 12, the day ends with a maiden special weight going 6.5 furlongs for the 3-year-old fillies on the turf, purse of $70,000. There is a field of, you see, supposed to be 14. I think there's probably 2 AEs, but because of the early scratches and the scratches that we see already, the 5, 8, and 13 are all out, which brings those supposed AEs into the body of the field. Morning line favorite is the number 4 High Society U for Jonathan Thomas and Kazushi Kimura at 5-2. Second choice, the number 9 Somerset West for Fresu and John Sadler at 3-1. And let's see who we're going with to close things out. On Saturday, I'm going 2-11-4. Ryan's going 7-4-2, and Jackson is going 2-7-4. Jackson, I believe it is your turn because Ryan has gone 3 times, and now you would have gone 3 times.
Why don't you go first, Noah? Let's let you join the party.
No, I'm not going first.
Hashtag equality.
Hashtag
April.
March.
Hashtag shut up. I'm the boss. Number 2, Silky Survey. Jackson, you are going first. This is an interesting pick, not because it is trained by Phil D'Amato, but because it is ridden by Juan Hernandez.
And JJ is going to have a nice day on Saturday. I think he's going to have a few winners in this 12 race.
Nice day breaking your heart.
Huh?
I said a nice day breaking your heart.
Yeah, probably.
Heartbreak.
Anyway, yeah, I think she's got a shot in here. The two horses to beat are obviously the ones that are coming out of the other main race on March 7th, where they both ran well. But I think this filly ran just as well in her respective race. I mean, that was a race where she was kind of wide on the turn. She tried to break that race open and attack the speeds early. She made the first move and just got caught late by a couple of horses that got better trips. And the race kind of came apart late. She got the best of the other speeds. It's also been a really live race. I think 4 horses that come out of there to run, 3 of them have won. So it's clearly a race that had some quality. Maybe you can upgrade that speed figure a little bit. And like, again, I don't think she got a great trip in there and she still ran well. She's also been training pretty well coming out of that race. I think she went in company with Struck By Her, who was a very good morning workhorse. And I thought she went just as well, if not better. So she's doing really well. I think you can expect her to move forward in this race. She drew well. And she's going to be better priced than those other 2 horses. And I'm not sure there's that much of a difference between them. So at 9-2, I think she's the pick for me in this race.
I agree completely. I am excited to bet her on Saturday. That is obviously partly because of the reasons that you had pointed out. It seems like it's a pretty live race. And I think the important thing to note here is the horses that she was close to and chasing faded back, but they also came back and ran really good numbers, along with the horse that got a good setup that day, ended up winning in the horse named Surfing USA, who came back and won once again. And then the horses that she was chasing and obviously were setting that hot pace were Red Cherry, came back and won, and Lady Detective, who I believe dropped in for a tag and was able to best that field whenever she ran. So I think there's a lot to like. I think, she's going to be able to put herself, especially with the inside post going 6.5 with that kind of weird left-hand turn that they have before they kind of hit the backstretch. I think inside is probably the place that you want to be. So I think as long as JJ doesn't do anything crazy, I mean, he's won at 21%, so you would think he's very capable. But we will see what happens in the ride that she's able to get at 9-2, or hopefully 9-2 on Saturday. We'll go to the number 7, and I just realized that Ryan and Jackson once again have the identical top 3. What a star! 20-1 Ryan. Obviously Jackson
ain't no way
a little bit as well, but Ryan, make your case.
Yeah, look, it's so funny. I don't think this horse is going to be 20-1. First of all, if Jackson and I are both giving respect to this horse, I honestly valued the 4, 7, and 2 pretty equally, but I have to take the 7 on top because the 7's going to be the best price of those 3. Any way you look at it, this is an unusual horse for Leonard Powell because he's very good with these second time off the layoff shippers from foreign countries, but this horse has rattled off bullets in the morning and is a very nice morning workhorse. Showed some of that speed last time. I think got a lot out of that race. I know faded pretty badly in the second half, but I think Mike Smith was kind of just out there to give her a bit of an education, which we see him do on more than one occasion. But this horse has come right back to work 2 back-to-back bullets in the morning, both very quick, and they both look strong. They're not on XBTV. I had them sent to me by somebody. So the work on February 21st preceding the debut stateside was also very strong, and I would say the horse looks equally as strong outside of that race, or coming out of that race, I should say. I think you get a lot out of this. Leonard Powell has a $3.22 ROI with the second off the layoff, 4 in shippers, and that's from 23 starters, so 7 wins in there. So I think What a Star is worth the bet at 20-1, I should say. Definitely going to be on all my tickets. I think High Society U, who I mentioned, worked at Chirapati, very valid horse that we'll talk about. Silky Sylvain, who you both spoke about as your top pick. That's another one that definitely scares me because of the run lines coming out, and Surfing USA is going to be in a stake next time. So I think the form kind of speaks for itself there, but I want to take a bit of a stab and get. Did I take Mike Smith on top in 2 races today? What's wrong with me?
What was the other
Noah
one?
can't speak. The Oaks. I took Forced Entry. Man,
I feel better.
What's going on? You guys are taking Juan. I'm taking Mike. What is happening?
Nobody took Ayuso. I mean, what is happening? Jackson, I guess the argument here is, like Ryan said, she's been working well in the mornings. She's been a little bit of a different horse in the mornings than what we kind of saw from her lone start here over in the States. And I mean, she was also less than 6-1 in that race. So, I mean, if you want to try her one more time before you kind of throw out the divorce papers, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I liked her and I liked Mad Dog in that race quite a bit. They both have been working really well. Neither of them ran very well, and I'm not going to give the same excuses that Ryan gave for this horse because she got beat 17 lengths on the grass. But I do think it's encouraging that she's brought right back after that poor of a performance. And if I didn't see the works, if Ryan says they're good, I hope they're probably pretty good.
Just saying things.
Wouldn't be surprised. The Mad Dog's works, I will say, even though it was a bullet workout, I don't think she looked nearly as good as she did prior to the debut. So that's kind of why I hopped off of her for Saturday.
It is Ayuso, and I did just to mention because I think you can make a case for quite a few kind of outside the, I guess, top 3 or 4 that we have. Like the 9 Jaramillo's on this Baltus runner, who we know nothing about, instead of the 12, who we do know something about. And like you said, Jackson, I would probably agree. She doesn't look necessarily as good as maybe or appealing as she was before that race on March 7th. But you got some weird kind of jockey gymnastics because Ayuso goes to Baltus here, Fraser goes to the 11. And then what I thought was really bizarre was Hector Barrios is only on like 4 mounts the whole day. I know one of them is Intrepido. He's got a couple earlier on in the day. I don't think any of the other races that we talked about he's riding. But this one he is. And he's riding for D'Amato for a horse that I thought was absolutely terrible last time, but does cut back. And it's Hector, and anytime you don't use Hector on the turf, then you're setting yourself up for a bad day and a bad conclusion to the card on Saturday. So I thought you can make a case for her. You can make a case for others. One more funny thing I want to mention is I was looking at works and workmates with some of these similar runners in here, and I watched the work of this horse. I can't remember which day it was. It might have been March 28th, and she worked with Egyptian Mistress, who is another Neil Drysdale runner. And I thought at the top of my head, just from remembering names and watching stuff, I thought Egyptian Mistress was a stakes runner. Actually, the stakes runner is Egyptian Mao. So I got that wrong. Egyptian Mistress is like 0 for 4 and terrible. So then it just came to the conclusion that this horse can't run at all. But a horse that can run is the number 11, and there's been some love in the chat. Jose Ramirez, a.k.a. the Slugger, is the 11 as a single. He also has a very important question as to who the side bet is this weekend. But before we get to that, I will talk, and I echo the sentiments from the chat. I think she ran pretty well last time. A little hurt that Ayuso didn't get the ride back because I thought he put on a pretty good inside-outside trip. She was closing well. I think the extra distance should probably suit her. 6.5 should probably hit her right between the eyes. I'd be a little reluctant to take her at a short price, maybe as the favorite, because I do think the 4 ran just a bit better than she did. She did a little bit more of the heavy lifting, and the 11 Somerset West was kind of a beneficiary of a pretty decent pace in there. I know they went 22 flat and 44 and 4. So I would value those two pretty equally, with the 2 being the top pick with similar points to what Jackson had laid out. Any other opinions from you guys, or do we want to establish this side bet?
I have no further opinions on this, but yeah, I would think race 9, right?
Race. I didn't really think there's any like super where we're all like, oh, there's no way this horse can win. There's
I know Cherokee Nation loses, so but we're both on Robusta in there. Yeah, I'll take the 10.
I'll take the 1.
King of Dragons. All right.
There you go, Jose.
There we go.
On the way to 30, baby. Come on.
King of Dragons is going to win. King of Dragons is going to win for fun now.
Oh, God. If he gets to 30, then, oh, boy, that's not going to be good. I think that pretty much wraps up things for us. I know Ryan had sent me a best bet, but Jackson didn't, even though I had already let him know that he didn't. If you guys want to give a horse that you guys are interested in, you can, or we can just go ahead and send the people off.
I mean, I sent you a best bet. So my best bet is Tirapati in the stake race going down.
Oh, it is? I didn't even look.
Of course you didn't. What? You said that you knew I sent you one, and then you just didn't look and disregarded it completely.
I knew you sent me one, but Jackson didn't give me one, so then I just didn't.
I forgot.
Hashtag what a host. Anyway, yeah, Tirapati's the bet. I think Queen Maxima is going to be 2 to 5, and I think you're going to get value on everybody else in that field. So I'll take a win bet on the 2. I'll keep it simple.
There it is right there.
Best bet, race 11, number 2.
No banner needed. Right there.
Nothing. No banner needed.
Sorry, I must have missed your text. There was a much more interesting text in our group chat probably around the same time you said that. So I probably missed it. But my best bet would probably be I'm gonna go Robusta.
Robusta.
Robusta. I'm gonna go Robusta.
I like Robusta. Can we change
I
that?
just feel like that's
Well, it's pronounced Robusta. It's about wine.
Okay, so Robusta. I just feel like it's way too big of a price on him in that race. I'm not saying he's the most likely winner by any means, but I do think Cherokee Nation, the late 6 issue is a big one for me. Potente can win. It's just between the prices of those two. I think I'd much rather have a Robusta. So at 8-1, let's hop aboard the Dougie train and we'll see what happens.
Hopping aboard. I like it. Before we go, appreciate the kind words, Tom, and everybody else. Good luck to everybody this weekend. Tom says, appreciate that, Tom. And again, thank you to everyone out there for joining us tonight. I know we gone a little bit long, but obviously big day over at Santa Anita. But going to my neck of the woods, I'm going to throw this question to Jackson. What advice do you have for first-time Keeneland? I think there might be a drink that Jackson would recommend you get, David.
The Keeneland Breeze are amazing. Get as many as you possibly can handle. And then, I don't know, like the first day I went, I really wanted to watch as many races from different spots as I could. Like I went watch one from the rail, watch one from the grandstand, others like check out the new paddock, just explore. Like it's fun. It's really cool.
Also, while this guy's comments up on the screen, shout out to him. He's the guy that makes all these cool cards that I have many of. Jackson, I gotta still pass one, but you see Nithos, that's the second best horse in the world behind that guy, Forever Young. So there you go. Noah's got one. So yeah, just got to shout him out because he does fantastic work. He sent us these. I was supposed to give Jackson one of them, but I've only seen him once, and I've forgotten, I think, every single time I've seen him. So I got a super corridor with his name on it. So next time I see Jackson, I will remember to give it to him. But shout out to David Barista. He does a phenomenal job with all those cards.
Yeah, appreciate the trading cards, David, and obviously appreciate everybody that has joined us tonight. Of course, this has been episode 73 of Pacific Horseplayers for Mr. Anderson, a.k.a. Ryan, and Mr. Muniz, a.k.a. Jackson.
Racing Ryan.
I have been your host, Noah Meagher, and episode 73 of Pacific Horseplayers covering Santa Anita Derby Day and the preview for the races and the stakes races out there at Santa Anita. And until next time, PHP out.